Hello, hello everyone. This is Darshana again, and I hope you are excited for this one. And what I hope more is you are sitting with a bag of popcorn because this is going to be a fun one. Okay. I have here with me Jess, and I don't know if you are watching this on audio or video, but she has a beautiful smile. So I really hope you are watching this on video. I first met Jess when I was in the thick of book writing process, and thank you, Jess, for your help with in that process. Anyway, today we're going to talk about a lot of things that Jess is an expert in. But before we get into it, I'm going to give her a minute to kind of introduce herself.
Yes, thank you. So, my name is Jess Seitz. I am an occupational therapist and a vaginismus recovery coach. And I have my own story of working through vaginismus for a very long time before finally finding freedom. A lot of that involved using my background as an occupational therapist. And now I'm so glad I get to use my story and my expertise to help women all over the world be able to get past painful sex, to enjoy, yeah, the whole intimacy thing without all the pain and the drama. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jess, for sharing that. And, more power to you for, navigating this journey. So, what I was really excited to explore with you today is this wonderful landscape of sexual expression and how that can be navigated when somebody is a person of faith or somebody who's experiencing penetrative pain. So, to that effect, can you comment on how does penetrative pain affect somebody's journey in faith-based communities?
Yeah, so I think I personally have a pretty strong faith in Christ and Jesus, and I'm a Christian. Became a Christian later in life, and so this was pretty, yeah, pretty. It's pretty close to home for me personally. And then I also do primarily work with Christian women who are experiencing painful sex and vaginismus. So kind of from both angles, I have a bit of experience.
Yeah.
I do know, as many of us know, that a lot of like religious teachings can impact how our perception of sex and intimacy, which can result in sexual pain, unfortunately. But I do think like our faith communities can do a better job at reclaiming that, because, as you know, faith does intersect with intimacy in so many ways. A lot of faith communities do have, ingrained into the way that they practice and they worship the fact that intimacy was designed to be a certain way. And so that certain way, though, over time has been pulled in different directions and misconstrued and used as control. And it complicates things a lot. And that's a whole separate topic, as you know.
Yeah.
But I do think like there's so much room for reclaiming that and for bringing peace and beauty and regeneration and growth through that. Because I do personally believe that intimacy is the closest thing that we get to heaven this side of eternity. Like just the pure enjoyment of two humans coming together in the most vulnerable way. Like you're literally naked in front of another human being. We don't do that very much as humans. We usually are clothed. And so to be naked and completely exposed and out there in front of another human being is the most vulnerable and connecting thing you can do with another human. And then on top of that, adding in such heightened emotions and elation and like feelings of like arousal and release and all of this, like those are incredibly deep, joyous feelings. And so you put that into an already vulnerable situation and you have just this like amazing, amazing magical experience. And so there is such a deep connection in that, between two people. But I think that has been given to us by, a God who loves us and delights in us experience such amazing feelings and such amazing connection. And so I do kind of say like, I want to redefine sex. I want to redefine sex instead of just like, did you get a penis inside you? But sex is something that is it connection? Is it connecting and is it pleasurable? And so coming back to those two things are things we celebrate in sex. And faith communities have a really good job at encouraging that message is it connecting and is it pleasurable? There's all kinds of things we can do that are connecting and pleasurable that don't involve getting something inside your vagina. So yes, there's definitely ways to redeem this and to make it something beautiful within, our faith circles.
Yeah, that's amazing, Jess, and thank you for saying that. And one of my takeaway from what you just said is finding a provider that speaks your language, because a lot of time I feel the care people with penetrative pain receive is siloed, right? Like you have somebody who's the expert of pelvic muscles and somebody who's the expert of the medical piece, somebody who understands your religion and somebody who understands psychology. But somebody like Jess, for example, you get it both. You know, you're in a very unique position of understanding the faith, but also understanding the personal experience of that person and have the professional skills to help them. So I think one of the things that could be undervalued and just a game changer in your journey is finding somebody who speaks your language in terms of your belief system. So that way you don't have to feel like you're hiding a piece of that because, you know, you're uniquely you. And if all of your pieces can travel together, it's just more fun. But what I wanted to talk further about is what you said. Let's talk about what is sex, you know, and it can be more than getting a penis inside the vagina. And for most of the people that you and I work with who are experiencing penetrative pain and have vaginas and vulvas, it's hard. And yet they want to access that intimate pleasure of being close to someone. So can we talk about like, what are some of the ways or how do we explore this intimacy and just take penetration off the table? Like, is it even possible? And what do we need to reframe for people to feel like they're not missing out on sex because they're not doing penis and vagina pow pow pow, you know?
That is an amazing question. It is a large question to answer, to be honest. So in my experience, I work with a lot of clients who are experiencing vaginismus or penetrative pain disorder. And I work with a lot who have, I don't want to say failed out with pelvic floor therapy, but who have found other measures to not be successful. And so by the time that I get to work with them, we are pretty adverse to any kind of sexual interaction. You know, and this was myself too. Like I had gotten to the point where my sweet, loving, caring, compassionate husband would come up and give me a hug from behind and I would flinch. He never pressured me, pushed me, forced himself on me. He was always so generous and kind, but I had just developed this adversive reaction to anything leading to intimacy, because intimacy was a constant reminder for me of how much I was a failure. Like I had just viewed that, okay, I can't do this basic act that, you know, teenagers sometimes do. And it's just like, I can't do this. And here I am, been married for 8 years and struggling. And so it just like, for me was a wave of really difficult emotions. And I felt like anything else that we do at this point was what I sometimes like to say is consolation prize sex, where it's like, okay, you can't do the big shebang. So you get this like a little other stuff. And I do think that women who have penetrative pain or vaginismus could probably write chapter books on all the other things we could do for intimacy. But unfortunately for a lot of us, that just sits under the umbrella of failure. So, and it's just a reminder, like, I'm doing this because I'm broken. I'm doing this because I'm a failure. And so the first thing I encourage all of my clients to do, and this is what I had to teach myself too, is we have to remove penetrative sex from the option completely. Like we're just taking that away for now. We're not even making that an option, because when you remove this as the ultimate, like penultimate goal, you now see, you know, all of the different options in a different light. They're not second to this larger thing that you can't accomplish. They are beautiful and part of the intimacy journey. Again, they're part of connection and pleasure, which are what I try to redefine sex as. So the first step I would say is remove penetrative sex all around. Like we're just not going to do that, because we're not going to become second class sexual beings. We're going to be fully sexual beings enjoying what we can do. And then the second thing I would do is I encourage my clients to really be mindful. Now, mindfulness is like that thing where you just are like, okay, it's another woo woo mopey thing that you're just going to do. But seriously, when you're mindful, you're connecting into your body and you're becoming more aware of what your body's needs are. So many of us who experience penetrative pain are outside of our bodies. Something's happening to us that's causing pain, and we're not able to really look inside very much and figure out, where's this pain coming from? What's stemming from it? Like we're just kind of so externally aware of the insult to injury that's happening that we're not really looking. So mindfulness really gets you back into your body to be more aware of what's going on. And once you are really good at being able to be mindful, understand your internal systems, what you're feeling, not just like the pain, but even like emotions and tension and stuff, then we can start to unfold what is arousal. What is enjoyment? What is pleasure? Because so many of us are so disconnected from our own sexual selves. We have no idea what feels good. We have lost our sex drive. We just have zero desire. And it's been stifled. It's been shrouded in pain, covered in shame, and just like we're disconnected from it. So I encourage my clients to remove penetrative sex from the table, be mindful as they connect back into their bodies, get to know their bodies, understand where things are coming from. And then I see a lot of light bulbs going off and like, oh my gosh, I actually felt a twinge of enjoyment in this. I actually felt some arousal happening.
Yeah,
And then we can start moving forward without this looming pressure of like, okay, well, that arousal is just going to lead to failure and pain. So yes, we have the freedom to feel that arousal, that enjoyment, that even orgasm and it's great and it's free of the pressure and the pain. So
yeah, that's great because just taking the pressure off, right? Like if
yes.
penetration is off the table, not everything is leading up to there. You know, the end of the story doesn't have to look the same. But I think you said something so deep and so profound there that people tend to view, as much as there is increasing knowledge about sexuality and sexual expression, and sex can mean different things to different people or different things to the same people at different times in life, right? Um, I think what you said was very deep that hit a note for me is women tend to view everything else under the umbrella of failure. Like I get to do all of this because I can't do like this, number one thing. So I'm doing all the number two things. So would you mind sharing some wisdom about like what are some of the reframes? What are some of the words of encouragement that women need to hear who are trying and yet can't help but because we've been cultured to think sex means a certain thing in a husband-wife relationship. So I'm trying to understand what are some things women need to hear who are struggling with can't help but think all of this is under that umbrella of failure, like all the non-penetrative stuff.
Yeah, so I do actually have my clients do positive affirmations that I have them speak out loud to themselves verbally, so they can hear it, say it, write
Mm.
it. We have as many multi-sensory systems of taking that in as we can. So the positive affirmations are huge. And so someone who's struggling in this area, I definitely recommend them sit down and put some positive affirmations down and just speak these daily. I'm not talking about blowing sunshine and making false things. I'm talking about true positive statements. And so I'm a big fan of these. I used to not be. I used to think they were weird and dumb, but now that I've done them and my clients have done them, we find that they're pretty powerful and we actually start to believe them. So one of my favorites is that I mean, again, I operate out of kind of like a faith-based lens, but God made me to be a sexual being, and He said that that was good. And so many of us do believe in a creation story. We believe that God created, Adam and Eve, and He said that that was good. And so God created Eve with all of her sexual parts and said that this was good. It was not a mistake that it takes her 40 minutes to get aroused. It's not a mistake that her clitoris is not inside her vaginal canal, which is her, pleasure organ. And so it's not a mistake that, she's going to connect with her partner in a whole different emotional way. That's not your any different. That's not that you're broken. That's exactly how you were made and how we were made as women. And when we recognize that and we accept that and celebrate that, then I think intimacy shifts. Unfortunately, so much of how we view intimacy is through a male structured lens where we see sex as a penis goes in a vagina and then it just in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
somehow like when he orgasms somehow she's orgasming at the same time, and it's like, really, how, like, who made this movie? A man probably directed this because she is not orgasming at the same time that he is inside of her. Like, but we have been just conditioned as a society to think that this is supposed to be great for us. It's not. But that penis in the vagina is not going to be pleasurable for her, really. I mean, it can be in part of the greater pleasure event, but it's not going to lead her to an amazing orgasm experience. No, that clitoris is outside the vaginal canal, which means he needs to put some work into getting her excited in a different way than what makes him excited. That's not a mistake. That was designed that way. And once we accept that and celebrate it, then we look at sex differently. Like, okay, actually, for me, sex is going to be actually mostly external outside the vaginal canal. It's going to be a lot of fun foreplay, like 40 minutes of foreplay, because that's how long it takes a woman to really get nice and relaxed and excited to go. It's going to look like more external stimulation. It's going to look like relaxing in that moment, connecting with my partner in a very different emotional way. And that's
Mm-hmm.
good. And so I think for me and for many of my clients, we have to accept that pleasure is going to look different from us, and that's good. It's not, we're not second class beings to the man
Yeah.
because we orgasm differently or get aroused differently. That's celebrated. That's good. And so when you
Yeah.
see sex now as like, I'm not say like a female centric view, but just like this like two partnered system between male and female, when you see sex held equally like this, we see penetration's only one small aspect of the whole components of male and female pleasure. And so if we want to
Yeah.
equally consider female pleasure, we don't even talk about things going inside the vagina. And so once we recognize that, then we start seeing like, okay, I can spend some time doing some things that are no
Mhm.
longer consolation prize sex. They're actually equally just as good for my pleasure because my pleasure is worth it. My pleasure and my enjoyment
Yes.
just matter just as much as his. So
Yes, say that one more time for the people in the back. My pleasure is important, right?
yes,
You are so right with that. I think a lot of definition of successful sex has been around a male orgasm. Maybe that is culture. Maybe that is how porn was made. That is how movies were made, right? But I think the take home point for me from what you just said was people connecting with themselves to just understand what do you want, like what actually feels yummy to you versus what you were told should feel good, right?
yes.
Um, so moving that lens to, because we talked about like sex is connection and pleasure. And to that effect, it seems like connecting with yourself, you connecting with yourself is step one to just even understand what you want. But now I want to take this further is to how, what are some of the tools for women dealing with penetrative pain and exploring these more non penetrative pleasure options? What are some tools for talking to the partner? What are some things partners can do or need to hear? Or what are some gentle ways of encouraging partners to participate in that? Because sometimes it's not about like partners being selfish. Sometimes they just don't know.
Yeah.
And like you said, any initiation results in like, no, 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 people shutting it down because they're afraid of pain. So it can discourage partners from even attempting anything else, right? So can we talk a little bit about how to, in a partnered situation, how to include the other person in this
Mhm.
game?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first, like you said, the first step is going to be you have to have an awareness of this. And so for so many years, myself personally, I was angry at myself. I was angry at the situation and I pushed my husband away. So, he'd come up, give me that hug from behind, and I would flinch and then I would somehow just like become unattractive. So that usually came out as anger. Like, don't touch me, get off me, just like something. And then he turns around, well, why are you in a bad mood? And it's like, I'm not in a bad mood just because he came up and gave me that hug. And so I didn't have enough internal awareness to understand what was happening in that interaction that I did have. Like it was all happening involuntarily. Like that hug came, my nervous system said, oh, heck no, freak out, get rid of him. And I did. I didn't know that at the time. So the first step is going to be you're going to have some kind of level of internal awareness of what's going on. So you said that connection piece, and you have to know your body, what your body's needing. So spend some time diving into that. That's where a great counselor can come in. That's where some journaling, some reflection questions, asking yourself these harder questions about what am I experiencing? What am I feeling? Why did I snap? What's going on? That's a good place to start. And only after we can kind of get to some kind of clarity, you don't have to have it all figured out, but only after we have some kind of clarity can we even start talking to our partners about this in a safe space. If you don't have that psychological safety within yourself, inviting your partner into this is only going to maybe continue to make things more complicated. So we got to do some work first by ourselves. The second thing I would say was after we get to that point is we need to have some conversations. We've got to have some hard conversations. I feel statements. I feel this way when you do this. I feel scared when you give me a hug. That's gonna raise his eyebrows. What do you mean you feel scared? I've never hurt you. I've never done anything. It's like, okay, I feel scared because this could happen when you give me a hug. And so this is a real life example for me and my husband. So after we found out that these hugs were triggering me, my husband would come up and he would so gently just like whisper in my ear. He'd be like, hey, Jess, I want to give you a hug and that's it. And I would so gladly turn around and just give him a hug because I knew I felt safe. I felt safe in that hug. It wasn't going to progress to anything more. There was no expectation of this becoming an intimate moment. It was just a sweet hug. And still to this day, we don't have pain or anything, but we just love to cherish that he's like, hey, can I have a hug? Yes, let me give you a safe, wonderful hug. So then you have the freedom to be able to have that conversation. Something I really encourage my clients to do, and this is hard for a lot of us, is to teach our husbands or partners about our anatomy. This is hard for us because we don't know our anatomy. We don't confidently sit down with a mirror and look at ourselves and label things and figure out what they do. We don't, my, it's, yeah, men get to look at themselves every single day, multiple times a day. They look down and they're there. They go to the bathroom, they touch themselves, they wash themselves, they see themselves. We don't. And a lot of my clients, myself included, actually, and granted, I did cadaver lab and anatomy and all this stuff. I learned about female anatomy. I had never looked at myself. When I started doing this, I had a visceral response. I got nauseous, I got lightheaded looking at myself, and many of my clients do the same. So
Yeah.
sit down with a mirror, look at yourself, label the parts, and then once you feel safe with yourself, we teach our partners that. We pull him in the room and we say, okay, this is going to seem real stupid and really weird, but I really need to do this. I need to teach you about myself for my own healing and for us to communicate better. He now gets to experience what your anatomy is, which he's maybe seen more than you have, but he doesn't know what it is. And so then you can start having that healing connection between the two of you after you've connected with yourself. Now we're inviting him into the safe place that you've created, and he's being brought in through safety and not through pain, because the way he's interacted with your vulva and vagina before has been probably painful. And now it's safe, and now it's educational, and now it's building that framework and that foundation for healing and further conversations that are based on that foundation of trust, safety, and no pain. So, yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Like setting up expectations. Because that part of that permission of the hug is, I want to hug you. That's it. Just knowing that, because I think some of the things I have heard from patients over the years is they are tired of saying no one more time. Because yes, they need to say that to protect themselves from the pain, and it's not seen as a choice because their nervous system is freaking out. But also, they deeply feel guilty for denying their partner this pleasure. Because I don't want to give you a hug and then show you, falsely lead you. You know. So I think that setting expectations is what I heard from that encounter. Is if you could just do that for yourself and then for your partner, that be, because it's an understatement to say couples face unique challenges with when one is having pain, and communication inside and outside the bedroom is essentially the first step, right? Um, do you have any bits of wisdom around couples that are navigating penetrative pain and there is a goal or a desire, so to say, not goal, a desire to want to grow their family? What are some of the feelings, but also tactical challenges that come up in your clients? And what are some things to know from, again, a little bit of a religious lens, because there is a different meaning to starting a family as a Christian person versus a non-faith person?
Yeah. Um, so the really challenging thing with healing from penetrative pain or vaginismus is that our body does not like to cooperate when there's pressure. The unfortunate thing with the desire to start a family, to get pregnant, is there's a lot of pressure. For
For
those
sure,
who
yep.
don't experience penetrative pain or vaginismus, there's still a lot of pressure. And I know a lot of, males and females, when it comes time to trying to conceive, just, they come into performance issues. There's, like dryness that happens just because that pressure of trying to conceive is a lot. So now you add in pain and we're complicating things a lot. And so I would say it's hard because I constantly am telling my clients, you have to remove all pressure when you're really trying to heal. You really need to remove the pressure and the expectations of like a certain timeline, a deadline, a goal by a certain period. Like if you want to be pregnant by Christmas, you probably aren't going to be pregnant by Christmas because we have this looming pressure and this goal that's going to weigh out and not fully allow your body to get into that safe space that it needs to really be able to move past the pain. So if you're looking to heal from the pain, we've got to remove the pressure. This might mean having to have conversations with yourself, your partner, your family, your faith community, and just saying like, hey, I'm in a season of healing right now. Now is not the time where I'm going to work on growing my family, but I'm going to work on myself. You don't have to go into details if you don't want to,
Yeah.
but just kind of like setting expectations. Again, this is not my season for conceiving. Yes, in the back of your head, you're like, I want to get pregnant. I want to have a family. But if you really want to heal from the pain, we've got to set that aside. And I would encourage, if you're experiencing vaginismus, pain with penetration, any of these, getting pregnant, and that is going to be complicated. One, you're going to be pushing past a lot of pain, and that's just like reinforcing pain pathways that are not going to help. But two, we want to make sure that, going through pregnancy, your body's set up for success and can handle things like vaginal ultrasounds and cervical checks and all of these things. We want to have a good, healthy, safe, pleasurable, as much as possible, pregnancy and delivery. So I really would encourage anyone who's thinking about starting a family to get past the pain first and to heal from this before we start the next incredible journey of pregnancy and starting a family. But
Yeah.
it's hard.
Thank you. Yes, it is. And it's anything but simple, right? There are all the fields here. Everybody feels like they're fighting this battle between their biological clock and their body's current status. And it's just, there's no easy answer to that. But like you said, powering through pain, I feel like somewhere women were told to glamorize the ability to power through pain. And, depending on how you were raised, it's more like, show me what you're made of, like, power through pain. And you and I both probably have seen dozens of stories where people will power through unbearable stuff just to have that baby. But what starts to happen is it's adding insult to injury. Every pain encounter is making that pathway more and more solid, where your brain just expects pain, right? There's a difference between experiencing pain and expecting pain. And that's sort of, again, there's no easy answer. But, thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. And there is so much I can just keep talking to you about, because you just bring such unique mix, and the cherry on top is like, you are so generous with sharing your personal story with it, that a lot of times people feel like, yeah, it's easy for you to say.
Yes.
But when somebody who's actually working through that road speaks, you really get it, So to that effect, what is the one thing? And like I said, there's so much we can talk, but if there was one thing you want anybody struggling with penetrative pain, vaginismus, or anything else giving them penetrative pain, identifying as a person of religion and navigating this non-penetrative journey, what is the one thing you want to tell them to do, or one thing they should avoid?
Okay, I'm going to do two, but it's a compound sentence.
Can I tell you, everybody does that. Everybody tells me, I'm going to cheat and do two.
It's like, okay, it's a compound sentence of what? I don't know. Okay, you should avoid pain. You should avoid pain, and your pleasure is worth it. Like, we as women, like you said, will push past the pain. And I even thought like, okay, well, I'm going to do childbirth, so that's going to be way worse than the pain of getting pregnant. So I'm just going to sandwich this pregnancy and starting with pain, ending with pain. And I just glamorize that. And it's like, no, do not push past it. Like, sex should not be painful. So avoid the pain, do not push past the pain, and your arousal, intimacy, orgasm experience is worth it. You are so worth the pleasure. Like, as women, we sometimes sacrifice that. We fake orgasms. We, don't spend the time to build arousal because we don't, we want to serve him, or we don't want to be such a burden on the time commitment. No, you are worth the pleasure. You are worth the pain. Your body was designed to take that long. He needs to help you get there, and it's worth it. So no pain, and you're worth the pleasure.
Yeah. Both, you needed to say two. Both of those are important. I wouldn't have been able to pick one. But yes, you made it into a compound sentence. You got me on technicality there. So before we wrap up, you're just such a wealth of knowledge. So I want to have a way people can find you. So where can people reach out to you if they want to pick up this conversation further?
Yep, you can find me at painfreeintimacy.com. I've got a bunch of free resources on there too. I also have, social media, Instagram at painfree.intimacy. And then I do have a free Facebook group. And in this group, it's like tips and tricks for your vaginismus recovery. In this Facebook group, I dump tons of free content and trainings and stuff, because when I had vaginismus, I had nowhere to turn for quality resources. And I want there to be access to quality resources. So this Facebook group has a bunch of free videos and stuff too. So yes, pain-free intimacy.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you for speaking with us. And again, I can't thank you enough for being generous with sharing your personal story, because for obvious reasons, this is a very private piece of information, but it's just through having these conversations, people can, find the words even to describe what they're dealing with. So thank you for being a great resource at a personal and professional level. All right, people, hopefully you got all the amazing tips and you know where to find Jess after this. And I will catch you at the next episode. Bye.